This conference will now be recorded.
There we go. Awesome. So, did you guys have a hearty topic already up that you were talking about? Or are we going to follow the protocol?
What topic was that?
I don't know. Did you have
We
one?
don't
When
need
I,
no stinking rules.
we don't need rules. Yeah. Well, we may need.
I've not been on in a few weeks. You have a protocol now?
Yeah,
Well,
who is the waiting for name? Are they new? Doesn't let them introduce themselves, and then I think that's about it. I can't remember what her name is. Miss User. That's what her name is on there.
um,
I can't remember what her name is.
so if we're going by the protocols that we're trying to work on, Jeremy, and we're going to talk about that again today. We touched on it last week. We're going to try to move to biweekly, every other week, so that we can garner a little more attention to each one of them and have more of a more well-rounded discussion and have some topics already made up. But we were going to do this one and make it kind of official there. So the first 15 minutes, and this varies, we need to tinker with this little. We just like to give anybody that's on here that's new a chance to say hi if they want to, and kind of give a little intro if they like. You don't have to. We won't put you on the spot. But if you're new and you want to say hey for a minute, feel free to kick your mic on and let her rip.
Actually, Brian, I was thinking about that for
Mhm.
the people that come in here. You, Grant, Chris, and Loco should all introduce yourselves right at the beginning, just so people know who y'all are.
We probably should. So I'm Brian, and I'm in the tech department with Thunder, and I'll let Chris do his.
I'm Chris, and I'm Brian's little minion
Oh yeah, I guess that's
in
it.
the tech department.
And Grant may or may not.
Grant just sits there.
Grant is our sales manager, so any and all sales or logistics related questions you have go directly to him. So,
Well,
Yeah, that's actually a good idea that you guys should put down what he just did. He just put down sales manager. Maybe you should put down Brian tech support, Chris tech support.
that hey, baby steps, Jim. Come on now. We got to do this a little at a time.
Hey, that's true. He did
You're
it.
gonna have to have business cards and everything. It'll be official.
Right. So, well, cool. I don't have a topic for this week, and I was supposed to probably, and I just didn't do it because I figured that we would talk about what we were supposed to do last week. Or come up with some frequently asked questions and some other recommended topics that we could have on these sessions. And our goal is, and this was Grant's idea, and I think it's a great one. I think it was Grant's idea, is to take some of the gold that we find in these hour-long sessions and make little video shorts out of them. If there's a piece of information that's particularly useful or asked a lot, we can make that so you don't have to dig through the archives and through all the contents so much. So that's kind of the way we're looking at transforming this thing a little bit and revamping it again. So,
I got an idea for a topic.
Okay.
I just left. Dang.
There's a form.
Rotary updates. I'm gonna keep
Rotary
teasing
update.
them. Put him in the hot seat, Mr. Jason.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I was trying to get my headset turned over, so I wasn't having to.
Oh, I already used that.
carry on a
excuse.
conversation.
You got to have a different one.
I'm out of excuses, I guess. That's the only one I can come up with in short notice.
Yeah. So,
What was the question?
about your Rotary stuff, upgrades, updates.
Keep getting teases on Facebook.
Yeah. No, we got a newer well, I guess you could finally call it a version 2, just a different design for the Rotor Boston Junior, and
He's teasing again. He's making
Yeah,
it
it's like
sound like he faded out, but he didn't really. He just made it look that way.
Be kind of focusing on Rotoboss as a brand, and then kind of the rotaries.
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit on that, Jason. Your audio was cutting in and out.
Great info.
We may need to come back to him when he gets a little more stable.
Yeah, next topic.
There he is. There he is coming. Looks like he's dialing in or something.
All right, can you hear me?
There you
Yeah.
go.
A lot better.
Sorry. No, so there's been a lot of confusion with the brand. Because a lot of people say, I got a Rotoboss, and it turns out they got a low roller. So basically, what we're doing is we're kind of going to shift. The Rotoboss is going to be the brand, and then they're going to have different names for the rotaries to kind of distinguish them a little bit. Plus, we got 2 other things coming out probably by the end of the year. So we kind of need to distinguish a little bit better what we have.
hmm Cool.
So, but overall, the 2 rotaries, the Rotoboss and the Junior, will be something else, but they'll be the same rotaries. And then, like I said, we had a couple other things coming out, so
Gotcha.
I'll keep putting teasers out for that.
All right.
looking
Cool.
forward to it.
What's that?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be worth it.
So, do we have anyone that wants to say hey? You're welcome to. Well, the next part of it was going to be newcomer questions and comments. So let's open the floor to anybody who may have questions that is not a super duper regular. Unless you have a question, then of course, but we want to give some of the people that aren't on here as often the latitude to do that. If anybody has anything, feel free.
I've got a question.
All right.
I'm John. I'm on here every now and then, but I work swing shifts, so most of the time I can't catch you. I'm
Gotcha.
out on medical leave now, but sometimes when I'm cutting, when I get through cutting, my air assist will go to low air, which I like, and then a lot of times it don't. Am I missing something in the settings, or why does it do it sometimes and not all the time?
A few reasons. First, especially if you're USB, especially if you're Mac, but even if not, if you're using Start instead of Send or Shift plus Send, you can get an air sequence inversion in the communication. So even if you choose for the air to be on high, it may go low. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's sporadic. If it's doing it when you're using Send or Shift plus Send, then that may be an indication there may be something else going on.
Well, I always use send. I never send. I send it to the controller and then start in the controller.
Gotcha. And it's still getting inverted, like you'll choose low and it'll go high. Is that what you're seeing?
Oh no, like if I'm cutting something out, a lot of times when it gets through cutting, the head will go to the home position
Mhm.
and the air will just go to the low instead of running so long with high air running out the nozzle. And then sometimes it'll cut back to low when it gets through cutting. And I don't know if there's a setting I'm missing or.
I see. That's might be a new one after the job is complete. I don't honestly know if it matters. Maybe in the newer versions, I'm not sure. It just reverts to low when you're done. But I do know that the stage stays on for a certain amount of time, with the TL timer. But now the thing about that is whichever one is engaged or whichever one is actuated, that would be something in the TL timer having to change, I think, if the job was already sent.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but yeah, mine doesn't work that way. That'd be useful is, if you're cutting on high and then it goes back and stays on high for whatever, 10 seconds afterwards, right? And it just dumps 10 seconds worth of high air pressure, right? It'd actually be useful.
Done it ever since I had the machine. I mean, sometimes it does it, sometimes it don't. I like it when it cuts, when it stops cutting, it goes to the low air, and it runs till it times out, but it don't do it all the time. And I don't know why.
Especially if you're cutting.
twice, then it'll do it, and then it won't do it the second time. So
That's weird. I'd love to catch that actually on video if you could actually, get far enough out where we could see the green lights, switch and actually if we could catch it
okay.
so that we could see it, if there's a way you could replicate it and capture it on video, and then maybe send it to us, that would be super helpful. We may be able to dial in on what's going on.
It
Okay.
happens
Even sort of-
on our machine too. So it's just something that I just kind of,
Isn't it
whatever, it
weird?
just happens.
Yeah.
Isn't it
Well, I
weird
mean,
that
that's the way I've been doing it, and then I thought, well, maybe there's something in a setting that I'm accidentally doing at some point and not doing the other times, but I can't figure it out. So I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but it would actually be useful if it was there in a setting you could configure. Because I do it when we cut like a lot of, we cut on high air pressure, and when the project's done, and you've cut like small parts, and it tends to blow them all over, or they end up down to the crumb tray because it blew it off to the edge or something like that. So it'd actually be real useful.
It's almost like for that to happen, Lightburn would have to send it another signal after the job was complete, which
That's
doesn't
what I
make any sense.
Isn't it
Dumb
odd? that-
question. Do you have an engrave on afterwards, right? Or do you have another layer that doesn't have anything on it that maybe has like engrave with a low air pressure afterwards? Because when you send the whole job, that it just switches to that, sees there's nothing there or anything odd like that.
Now I could see that happen.
Sometimes it's when I'm just doing, just cutting out stuff, it'll do it.
One
And
question I have.
Sometimes it does it when I am engraved, but I always engrave first and then cut last, and it'll do it. But it does it just off and on. And I thought, well, I wish I could get it to do it all the time, but I can't figure out how.
And how are you connected to your laser, and what type of computer do you have? So are you USB or Ethernet, and then a Mac or a PC?
Ethernet.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a PC.
Well,
So,
you
yeah.
got the
So-
best of
Yeah, you got the best
case
for
scenario.
bugs. Yeah.
Brian,
if it
isn't it-
was USB and a Mac, I could see maybe it was happening, but
Isn't it
And,
odd that he's even dropping to low air after cutting? Because
Well-
typically it runs to high air after cutting it, just whatever it's on it.
It's whatever
Finishes.
it's supposed to be, or at least it has been, whatever it's on, because that's controlled by the TL timer, and once you say TL timer, I want the high air on, that should be the one that stays on. I don't know though. They did change. We went to, I wonder if it has to do with the TL timer. I wonder if we go from the 8.3 to the 8.4. That sounds like more like it would be in the firmware of the TL timer, or the logic of the TL timer, than it would be in the software.
I guess it
What's
could
the
depend on how
what's the
what
age
unit-
of the
yeah,
the
that's what I was
lasers?
asking.
So if we got two different people that are seeing it, are your lasers maybe newer, or on that version versus, so mine's a year and a half old. So
We got ours
Right.
in our 51-130 in January.
Mine's a 35-100, but I've had it about a year now. Right at a year.
That's something we can check on. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. It doesn't sound like it should. And I don't know how much of an issue it is. I get that. I get that. Having low would be neat, so it doesn't blow stuff around and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's something I'll have to check on. That's
yeah,
kind
it's
of
just
strange.
just looking in the
I
settings.
just thought maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah. And it may be just a quirky way that the new TL timers work. That's what I need. That's what I'm leaning toward. But we can try to do a little background on that and see if we can come up with an idea on what's happening, especially since more than one person, has identified that. That makes me, that's even more intriguing. So,
Yeah. Might be a feature request for Lightburn to see if they can implement it as a setting where you can turn it on to low afterwards. As you like when you go into like your end delay, because I added the start and end delay settings in Lightburn, maybe something along those lines.
yeah.
I guess
Which,
anybody have a reason why you need air assist after you're done lasering? I mean, a little bit, but
the exhaust, I see a whole lot more than air.
Yeah.
Because once you're
Yeah,
done,
I
cutting,
would
you need
love
the
for air to cut off instantly. Yeah.
Well, you can set the TL timer to 0.
Yeah. I was just
And then-
thinking is drive it back and then be good.
How do we do
Yeah.
that? How do we set it to 0?
I've got an article.
gotta-
I'll send you a
You
link
gotta
to
go
it.
in the settings
You-
and drive. Yeah.
There's a testing and
Hey.
adjusting.
page 55 of the manual.
I still try to
Wow.
You looking at it, or you got that committed to memory, Chris?
That's,
Wow.
There you go. That's a good minion you got there, Brian.
I'm impressed.
and nobody's
don't
going to
need
pull up
no
the manual to
stinking
double check,
manual.
right?
I've never looked at the manual. So,
What's a manual?
I'll second that. Third that.
Yeah. RTFM.
I didn't even
How about
honestly
you?
know there was a manual.
I
Yeah,
put
the Book of Thunder.
yeah, that's right, the Book of Thunder. I put the TL timer link in there, and there's a little short video I did on how to set it. You basically navigate to the channel you want to go to, and then just adjust the timer. It's set to 15 or 20 seconds right now for the air assist delay for high and low, because there's a separate channel for high and a separate channel for low. So you'll just go to the appropriate channels. If you want to adjust the air assist, you'd probably do both, and you can set both of those from either 15 or 20, whatever they're on, to 0, and that way the air will cut off as soon as the job is done. And then if you want to adjust the exhaust, you can do that too.
That's all fine and good if you can get to that panel.
Well, what's the matter? You got a
Yeah.
little bit of tight room in there or something? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, right now I have a whole section that's empty that as soon as Chris says we can go, we will be leaving to go pick up the other machine and things will be super tight. But in preparation, we already shifted the 130 over and it's about 3 inches from the wall.
But you got
Well,
time
it's in
until
the
you get the
side.
other one.
It'll be on the
Well-
right hand side, so you don't have to get it away from the wall. You just gotta get between it.
Well,
And
depends
Yeah.
here
if
I
it's in
thought
a
you were going to
corner.
say you were too busy doing tumblers.
Have you seen the
Funny.
size of me to squeeze in 3 inches? Come on, Brian.
Yeah, and they got probably the double door too, so they don't have the ability to do the big door like that and kind of, yeah.
I don't even know. I can't see it.
Sounds like Tommy needs to move it back out so you can get to it.
Thanks, Jim.
I just
Put him to work.
looked.
Sounds like Tommy needs to build a bigger shop.
Damn, thanks, Jeremy.
I haven't even been in this one a year.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You
Growing
growing
pains are a
quick.
good thing.
See?
Yeah. Awesome.
Just make a hallway over to his garage, his shop.
Yes,
Breezeway.
that would be nice.
So, all right. Well, does anybody else have any questions or anything or comments?
I'll say this, I had to line my mirrors for the first time after a year, and don't let your finger get in the way. It don't feel good.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I've burned myself a few times, but the first time I ever did an alignment, I gave myself a concussion from banging my head on the concrete. Also,
Yeah.
that it can be very unpleasant, especially the first time.
Waiting
don't
for
feel-
name keeps. I'm sorry. I don't know if you caught that or not, but waiting for name keeps raising their hand.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a Trish that's looking, but on the alignment thing, was it from mirror 2 to mirror 3 that you burned
Yes.
yourself? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah, just had my hand on the edge of it and finger sticking out in the way when I pulsed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can smell it before you feel it,
Yeah.
and then it hurts. So yeah, if somebody's got something, please jump right in.
Trish?
Hey, I just want to say I am brand new to this. I've had my machine since, I hate to say it, since March, but I just opened a shop, a quilting shop. I want to learn how to do this, but my time is so minimized, to be able to get to it. So I had come on here one other time to listen, but I'm going to try to jump in every now and then and see what I can pick up. But if you have any suggestions to help me, I haven't even had Thunder check in with them to make sure everything's okay on my machine.
Okay, so on that, these sessions, are great for stuff like that, but you don't have to wait for these for any kind of support. If you need some assistance or have a question or any of that kind of stuff, you can always just email support@thunderlaserusa.com, and we'll respond pretty much immediately, especially during the day. as far as things like that. And then we can also do remote sessions if we need to, and jump in with you, on your computer and go over some things and that kind of thing. And so have you had your 1 hour training yet? Have you signed up for that?
No, I emailed them and they suggested I look over the manual, which I had done probably 3 or 4 months ago, 5 months ago. So I wanted to look it over again.
Gotcha. So the manual, of course, it's always good, and we should always reference it. The cheat sheet is more of a distilled version of the stuff that you really need to kind of master, and even more than that, if you want to cook it down to the usual suspects, there's an article, and I can link that in the chat if that will help, on the usual suspects that we call them. And those are the things that typically get people hung up on their trainings, things that can already be done, to make sure that you're proficient enough with the machine. And I always say, if you have a decent handle on the usual suspects, then you can go ahead and drive your machine like you stole it and not have to be too intimidated about messing anything up. So,
do you have any suggestions on, I think my biggest downfall will be on the computer. So if you have any suggestions on, because I have been trying every now and then to look online at Lightburn. But if you have any other suggestions that might help me, I'd appreciate it.
So as far as using Lightburn, is that kind of what you're after?
I think that'll be, computers will be my downfall.
I see. I think if you email support again, and let's go ahead and do a session, and let's just kind of jump in, and we'll see where you're at and where you need to go, and then we can kind of custom tailor that content to your specific needs.
Okay, because it's only fabric. That's all I want to do is cut fabric right now.
Okay, well, that'll be easy. We'll be able to knock you out in one session. We should have you up to speed on that pretty quickly.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, I would definitely. You can email us if you want, or I can find the scheduling link if you'd like me to put it in the chat as well, so you can click it. And
yes,
you can go ahead and sign up for an appointment.
Yeah, that would be great.
And we'll be glad to help you. Let's see. I'm going to send the link to schedule, and there'll be some blah 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 in there, and then you'll see where you can schedule a 1 hour training. There'll be a link to that, and that'll take you right over to a scheduler where you can pick a good date and time for you, and then we'll jump in there and do a session with you and get you fixed up.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You're most welcome. And feel free to ask any other questions that you may have or anything in the meantime here, or you can email support and say, hey, tell me about this, in the meantime. Okay. So we'll be here to help any way you need.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I know I can do this. I know I can do it. It's just getting, I need a block of time. But when I'm jumping to help a customer, I'm jumping to do quilting, I really need to just be able to focus on this.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, pick that time and we'll dig in there with you and we'll get you up to par and get you confident about the machine, and then you'll be on your way.
Thank you. Because I really have a nice machine. It's a 51-130. So
Nice.
I have a lot of potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Brian.
Sure. Absolutely. You're welcome. All right. Anybody else got anything that they want to address? We're about halfway through.
I've got a question.
Okay, awesome. What you got? Okay, I thought someone said they had a question. I didn't catch who it was, but feel free to ask whatever you like. Maybe having some technical difficulty.
All right, I think I'm back now.
Gotcha. I hear you.
I have a question on air.
Okay.
How do you set the setting or get the setting for low air um, I'm a veteran, so I've got the really bad ringing in the ears and can't hear the air over my compressor to know if it's just a whisper. And I know you guys have talked about the gauges to try to get to set, and I tried to do a glass liquor bottle
Okay.
and ended up going through 3 bottles. Luckily, 2 of them were already empty. But to get the air right, that sometimes I was blowing chips out, and
Yeah. So on the air, you can feel. I feel for it. I have a pressure monitor on mine, so I can look at pressures also. But a lot of times I'll just feel for it, and usually when you're engraving, you just want a wisp of air. Now with glass, you could almost use zero air, almost. I mean, because that stuff doesn't really float around. If you do get any spalling or any particulate matter, it's usually not going to stay suspended very long. Actually, blowing too much on there may blow it back up. Other people may have a different take on that. But besides listen and feel, unless you put a monitor on there, some sort of gauge, which we have some that are higher resolution that are able to see the minute differences in the pressure that some may not be. There's really not a way other than putting some sort of meter on there to quantify what's going on so you can get some repeatability.
yeah, because there's sometimes that I'm doing engraving and get buildup on my nozzle. Is that from
Right.
too little air?
It can be. It's usually from too much, because if you're just engraving, here's the way I look at air anyway. I'll use high air if I'm cutting all the way through a piece of material. If I'm piercing all the way through and cutting it out in one pass, because you can put as much air to that pretty much, especially on organics, as you want to, and it's going to blow all of that mess through the kerf out the bottom of the material to be exhausted. So it keeps your cuts really clean. If you blow any amount of air in an engraving, if it's not going all the way through, it's like sneezing in a bowl of flour, and all that stuff comes right back up out of the material and gets all over the work and all over the nozzle. So too much air can cause that.
Sneezing in a bowl of flour. That's a
Yeah.
very good analogy.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a new cutting board logo.
Yeah, I used to use ashtray, but a lot of people don't smoke these days, so I figured a bowl of flour would be more relatable. So, but as far as being able to get that repeatability, if that's ultimately what you're after, especially if it's hard for you to discern what's high and low pressure just by adjusting the knob, then one of those pressure monitors may be a good fit for you.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the high and low. It's just, how low is the low? I mean, you guys talked in other videos.
Let me put it to you this way. You at least want to positively pressure that nozzle with air so that you keep the smoke out of the lens, at the very least. So it can literally be just the smallest amount. Now, what'll dictate that is as you're engraving or as you're processing it, if you start seeing flames or flare-ups, then that's an indication you need to turn your air up a little bit.
Yeah, I've never had flames, but
yeah, which on glass and things like that you won't. If you do a lot of glass.
I mean, I've done wood too, but it's just trying to figure out how much air.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard question to answer, really, because it's hard to quantify.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, right, is when people, right, so there's a lot of experience all over the internet and Facebook groups, people tell you what their air pressure set at, right, but nobody can quantify it unless they have the exact same measurement set up, they've tapped it the same way, right, which makes it very difficult to duplicate other people's results, right? So what I've done is, I bought the little SMC pressure monitor, right? That has been probably the best thing I've done to the laser, right? Which I've not done a whole lot because it come on most of it. But I'll take that over the Lightburn camera, over the the inline exhaust, any of the other different things, because that allows you to quantify it that's repeatable, right? And then if everyone did that, or it come, standard, or you had like a standard install, then I could tell you for this setup, here's exactly what I'm using, and you could go duplicate it, right? But if I told you go put it on 2 psi, how do you quantify 2 psi? Where is it measured? How do you can't duplicate it is the challenge.
Right.
So
And that's what I'm looking for, to try to go from wood to acrylic to glass, and going through Crown Royal bottles. Luckily, I had 2 that I could practice on, and
so it sounds like what you ought to do is work on getting your bottle inventory ready, right? So you drink you plenty of the Crown Royal, and then now that little digital gauge right there. So I installed one of those, right, and that is very useful because you can dial it in, and it's down to 1/10 of a psi. Right now, it's not an accurate technical measurement. Just think of it as a unit of measure of air, but it's not
I
psi. Yeah, but I can go in on an engraving and set it at 2.0 psi, and it's repeatable, and it's the same every time. And I know that 2.0 psi gets me this look, and I can repeat that because I will go in and adjust my settings, right, for an engrave on like a thicker cutting board, right? So like a maple cutting board where I want a deeper, darker engrave. I have a slight bit higher air pressure than if I'm just engraving like a piece of Baltic birch, and just the top of the veneer, or like a MDF with a veneer on it. And then obviously, acrylics, glasses, other things that are more sensitive, then it's even less.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that probably would be the better way, is to put something on there that you can quantify your results, and then just make those repeatable. So
yeah, and that's what I was kind of trying to figure out. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out my niche to what I'm selling, and somebody asked me to do a Crown Royal bottle for a graduation gift, and luckily I had some.
Yeah, preschool.
No, it was kindergarten graduation gift. But
there you go.
That was for the parents.
Yeah, but I guess I'm at a loss because in the military I used a laser machine because I was a sheet metal mechanic on 130s, and we used a $80,000 other brand laser machine that didn't use air, and it would laser etch all day long without any air.
Right.
So trying to figure, and I did more retirement gifts than actual sheet metal work, but you'd have their cheat sheet, and you'd put in their settings, and that's what it would do all day long. And trying to go from that, I mean, that was 6 years ago, but trying to go from that to this and figure it out has been my biggest problem. I can make a whole bunch of stuff, but just not the quality that I want.
Yeah, well, and glass is a tricky one, right? CO2 lasers will do glass. They're not ideal for glass. If you were going to go set up a glass shop tomorrow, you'd want a UV laser to do glass, or you'd look at sandblasting it. Right? CO2 can do it. Fiber can do it with the right tricks, right? But yeah, it's going to be a bit tricky. The other thing that I found in doing glass, right? So I've not done specifically Crown Royal bottles. I have done some Scotch, right, on the green bottles, so some Glenfiddich. I think it's Fiddick or Livet, one of the Glens with the green bottle. And what I found is actually masking it. So putting, masking tape on it before I engraved it actually gave me a lot better result than doing just the glass.
Right.
So that's something to look at there as well.
Yeah, and I've done other bottles. It's just, I don't know if the Crown was a thicker type bottle, because I've done different decanters that are thinner glass and rocks glasses and all that, but this Crown Royal bottle was kicking my butt.
Yeah, and it might be the makeup of the glass as well, right?
Right. But
there's certain glasses you don't want to engrave.
What?
There's certain glass you do not want to engrave. The stuff that won't etch chemically with some of that stuff you can get from a hobby store, you don't want to engrave it. It's going to turn into shards. I think it's like
Yeah.
borosilicate glass or
Borosilicate.
something.
Borosilicate is
Yeah.
not a good candidate. Any of the performance glasses like Gorilla Glass or anything like that is problematic. Even there was a discussion about car or about auto windows the other day, and there's technically you got tempered glass, which is you can engrave tempered glass, but what I've seen on some people that do it on, say, a baking dish is that it engraves okay and doesn't crack, but they use it a couple times to bake something and then it cracks. So, you can weaken it by doing that. The thing on the automotive one, I think on a laminated glass, you could because that glass isn't tempered, but you still can degrade the glass. And those are often structure parts of the structural integrity. They're calculated into the structural integrity of the vehicle, the glued-in laminates. And if you alter one of those, if you pull out this is what I told the guy, if you pull out your rear window or front window and engrave your name on it and put it back on, if there were a rollover, did it to somebody else, especially if there were a rollover accident and it was determined that the failure was partially because that glass wasn't a part of the structural component anymore, or it failed, then you could open yourself up to lawsuits and get hurt and all kinds of stuff. So glass can be really weird depending on what you're going to do with it.
It can be a pain in the glass.
A pain in the glass. That should be a video. We'll get Loco to do that. CeeLo. So. All right. So let's see. I've already changed the calendar. I'm gonna have to go in tonight and change a bunch of things to make this bi-weekly. And then we're going to start promoting it a little bit more, and we'll have some good topics, and we'll start doing shorts. So all that stuff will be neat. Who's my timekeeper? The same person has the soundboard. Do you have the soundboard, Jim? No soundboard. We need to make one, don't we?
Yeah, you sort of jumped all over the place.
I did.
We're like in the third quarter.
We're in the third quarter.
Almost into the fourth.
Almost into the fourth. All right. Well, let's just keep asking questions if anybody has them, or if anyone has a topic that they want to cover, since we're just kind of.
I know Tommy's probably got a question because I'm sure he screwed up something.
He may want to ask Chris when he can come get that thing.
I've already been working that.
I do.
Don't worry about that.
I do have a question.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I do have a question. Hey, does anybody else have a secondary or an Aurora and a secondary fiber machine? Or basically two fiber machines?
An Aurora and another brand? Lacasio does, but he's not on here right now.
Loco, he's the only one I know of.
He does.
Oh, okay.
Alicia Pate does as well.
Alicia does.
So I'm having issues connecting both at the same time. I can disconnect.
Yeah.
I can connect one. I can connect one, disconnect it, connect the other, and they both work fine independently. But when I hook them together, or not together, but when I hook them both up and try to use two instances of Lightburn, whichever one is recognized first connects, and then the other one never connects. And I brought this up to Jason and Lightburn, and they kept blowing it off. And now because I can't use but one fiber at a time, and that's even changing different ports in the USB as well, reconfiguring the USB drivers. I've tried like everything I could possibly think of, and I didn't know if anybody else had that same issue.
Have you tried EasyCAD?
Yep.
And it won't do it, right?
Huh?
It won't do it either, will it?
No, it won't. I can use either EasyCAD. I've tried EasyCAD. I've tried Lightburn. I've tried EasyCAD and Lightburn. And the problem is it always picks up that first instance.
Yep.
So if I have my Aurora on first, everything picks up the Aurora but disregards the other one.
Yeah.
And if I unplug Aurora and leave the other one plugged in, it'll swap over. But as soon as I plug the Aurora back in, it won't connect. And
it's probably something at the hardware level, because EasyCAD up until like one of the newest release, always looks for the hardware. It's always monitoring the hardware, always talking to the hardware. So it's looking
Yep.
for that instance in Windows to say, hey, I'm talking to you. As you make changes and stuff like that, it's always communicating. It's kind of a pain. We've been spoiled by Lightburn for our CO2s where you could do offline configuration, setting your files up. So I'm guessing
Well,
it's something to do with that, with the way Windows is managing the USB
Well, I've even done
devices
it to
and the manager.
where like I'll leave one instance of Lightburn on, I'll close the other instance, and then I'll turn the laser on, let Windows recognize it, then start up Lightburn. I've tried it the opposite way, where you start up Lightburn, and then start the laser, and then immediately select the new laser. That doesn't work. And like I said, even during the beta testing, I brought this up, I don't know how many times, and it
could
kept
be more of
getting blown
the
off.
hardware and an OS, how Windows is talking to it is likely the issue. But one thing you may want to look into are these little brick PCs. There's one on Amazon right now. It's like $125. It's a little HP, brick like that big.
Oh yeah.
And just set that up as your dedicated one with the license. I'm sure they'll give you that license.
Yep.
And RDP over to it. And life is good that way. You eliminate things, updates, causing problems, one computer running everything. It's definitely
Well,
my recommendation.
I just have the one laptop, and I can run all my CO2 lasers in a fiber, no problem.
One fiber.
And originally,
one fiber.
One fiber.
Two fibers can be run same time, two different instances. So
Here's
if you
the link.
look, are you in the Lightburn fiber
But
Galvo
that's not
support?
happening.
Well,
Yes, I've been through the. I've been through the
3 days ago. Patrick Moore posted something,
Yeah.
one of the admins in that group, where he was doing it. He's got pictures and video there, so you might want to see if he figured something out, because he's posted it like like it was news, and he's not running in Aurora, but he's running two different fibers at the same time, two different jobs on the same computer.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and
the
several other people
funny
saying
thing
they've got
is-
it with two cameras running on two fibers on the same at the same time.
Yeah.
See, the funny thing is I've been able to trick it by doing switching and unplugging and plugging in, doing all that stuff. I've been able to trick it a few times to where I can use both, but it's like it's like gymnastics trying to get it to do it. And now, no matter what I do, it don't work. And originally, I talked to Brian about, I thought it was something maybe with the Aurora or something like that, but after doing some more troubleshooting, it's not the Aurora, I don't think. I think it's something obviously software related, but I was just hoping somebody else had the same kind of setup to where they could kind of confirm or deny that that's happening with them as well.
Do you have both of them are the same hardware control boards in your fibers, same drivers?
Yeah, well, they're both JCZ boards or JC whatever,
Like,
or JZC
yeah, but the same, because there are a lot of different versions, right? Are they the same exact thing? 'Cause I'm just wondering what Windows is thinking when it assigns it, just like when it does cameras and their names and stuff like that.
It'll pull up in Lightburn. It'll pull up under the device list. You know how it says for fiber, it says auto, and then it gives you your ports for the USB. It'll show up as two ports.
Yeah, because that's what Windows is presenting, right?
Yep.
So,
and as soon as I unplug one, obviously one of the ports goes away.
Yep.
But well, like I said, for whatever reason, it's just not. It's just it's frustrating because I can only use one at a time when I need to double fist, and it's just not working.
Well, I mean, just join me with EasyCAD still. I don't get to use Lightburn, so I kind of feel your pain, but I'm on EasyCAD 3, so I don't have too much sympathy for you.
I'm not a big. I haven't used EasyCAD in probably since I started beta testing.
Yeah,
Lightburn
I haven't
fiber.
used it since before Christmas last year when
Oh, I'm chomping. I'm ready for it on EasyCAD 3 to get rid of it, give it the hunt.
Just downgrade your board.
Yeah, I'm not going through all that.
Board.
Yeah, not going to go through all that rewiring and different schematics.
Soldering and bit rough.
But seriously though, I mean, the $125 brick PC is great. Like, if you got other equipment, which a lot of
Are you
people
talking? Are
do,
you
that
talking about the network, little network PCs that
yeah,
basically are just a brain
Well,
box?
it's a
no,
solid state full PC.
it's
I
a
mean,
full PC. It's not.
Well,
I know
yeah.
what you're thinking about. But it's not a virtual instance. It's not where it's hosted off of a server. I know what you're
Oh,
talking about. I
okay.
think from back then. No, it's a full
Yeah.
blown Windows PC, just in something the size of a pack of cigarettes.
a little
No, I
bigger than
haven't
that.
seen
Maybe
anything like that
bigger than
before.
Maybe a
that.
little bigger, but yeah.
I've got one that's about the size. It's about 6 inches square and about
Yeah,
2 inches tall.
it's not a terminal server if that's what you're
No.
after. It's a full blown PC.
Yep. Yeah, it's
No.
Windows 10 Pro, I think is what's on mine, and I love it having that thing. It sits out there. I
Mine's
can remote
older
desktop to it.
than the one that.
But to have
But
but to have two different PCs just to run two different lasers, I mean, it's kind of
Shoot, I'd have one PC for almost my different areas of my house and my shop.
well, no, I do too, but
Yeah, yeah.
I've already got like 6 PCs in my shop, and I don't need any more.
I was gonna say I've got
move one over a little bit.
Yeah.
Plug one of your fibers into it.
Well, I mean, one of them runs my design stuff and my,
You can
vinyl
even
and all
run
that other crap. And then
all your CO2 readers off of that same little brick PC as well. So I mean, not like you'd have to expand too far.
well,
But
no, I'm
hopefully they
already
can get it
running.
fixed.
I'm already running everything off of a laptop. Like I have
Well,
a
yeah.
dedicated laptop to the lasers. Period.
Yeah. Do you actually use it with the screen and keyboard, or is it almost like a desktop
Oh yeah.
tower?
No, well, no, I use it with the screen and keyboard. Well, I have a wireless mouse and keypad, but
Yeah.
I use just the thing to watch everything. I need to get another monitor so I can do multiple things at once. But
Yes, you do need to get at least another monitor. Everyone needs at least another monitor.
Yeah, the other thing
yeah.
that you may run into that I've seen on laptops that not as much on desktops is you may be limited by your board's ability to read and write between two USB ports at the same time. So with the boards, there are continuous communications back and forth, right? It's
And
not
lots
like
of it.
yeah, and lots of it. So you might be limited by your motherboard's ability or your USB driver in the board to read and write in two ports at the same time, which is why it reallocates it. So if you got a desktop, like you said, that little brick 6x6, try it on there, see if you have the same issue, and it may come down to it's a hardware problem on the laptop. Because I know I've got, at work, I've got like a $4,000 engineering PC, proper, onboard graphics card, and it's very limited on what it can do at the same time because of the nature of laptops, right? Those are desktop features, right? Most people in laptops aren't, networking to multiple things at one time and, multitasking like that.
Yeah, I'll give something a try. It's just I'm at my wit's end with it because, like I said, I got so much stuff to engrave, and being drawn down to just one machine sucks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one thing that the fiber could use is a dedicated controller where you can just send it to it and not have to run it off the PC.
Ethernet would be pretty cool too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Well, there's an Ethernet to USB hub, but I don't know if that would work.
I would avoid trying to convert anything unless you had to have.
I mean, it's just the same
if it was
as
a printer,
it's just
if it was a label printer or something, that's one thing. But
yeah.
I don't know if I'd try. Yeah, that might be a little much for
Especially
the
with the
specialized.
the continuous back and forth on it.
I mean, I've had
if
those
it's gotta
USB
stay
serial
alive.
converters,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like certain commands that they couldn't send out that a true RS-232 port could.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. That's my problem.
Yeah. All
Third
right.
world problem, I guess.
So.
Yeah. So.
Got a idea, Brian.
Yep.
It's gonna be a T-shirt giveaway. How about that? Grant's got a T-shirt to give away. Yeah, with a little bit of trivia. And I guess we'll have to use the chat to get this organized right so that everybody can respond without voice. Anybody want a T-shirt?
Sure.
Sure.
Ready? Shoot.
All right. So y'all ready for the trivia question? Everybody ready and listening?
What are we going to randomly pick, or the first person to get it right, or what?
They got to enter it in the group chat. So get your group chat ready to send to everybody.
It defaults that way, I think.
Yep. And then y'all ready? So the question is, why is the name Kumar Patel 1964 relevant?
We can't do it, can we?
No, you got plenty of shirts. Kumar Patel 1964. Without Googling.
I have no idea who the hell that even is.
He's an Indian guy.
1964 wasn't that long ago, was it, Jim?
64. Actually, it was before I was born. Not quite that old.
Ooh.
First laser
Sam's-
inventor is what Sam said.
He's close. Not sure I'd quite take that.
Yeah, it is close.
Oh, and guesses are free too. They don't cost you $1. or
Yeah,
anything.
guesses are free.
There you go. Jeremy got it. He invented the CO2 laser
CO2.
back at Bell Labs, Brian's house, 1964.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I have pictures of him on my wall.
There's actually a good MIT courseware, one of their free MIT learning modules that talks about it a good bit. So if you really want to geek out on lasers and like on the atomic level of what and how lasers work, it's a very interesting podcast to listen to.
Yeah, and he tried all kinds of different gases.
Yep.
And everybody else did too. But and there still are others. There's helium neon. There's all kinds of lasers out there. And then there's flowing gas lasers and sealed lasers. I think his first one was flowing gas, which actually helps cool, I think, more effectively than water, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, one of the things I found that was real interesting. So, outside talking about the gases in the media, but was when they were getting into how you actually, when you go in and excite it, and you talk through, the mirrors and how the output mirror is like 95% reflective, and it lets 5% through, where the other end is 100% reflective. So they bounce that beam until it excites enough of the photons to where it ionizes and sends it out.
I'll put a link to a little bit of what we have. I don't know if it's got any more links in there. It has a link to Wikipedia and some other stuff about CO2, DC excited CO2 laser tubes. So, and there's a picture of Mr. Patel in there. Hold on, I'll pop it up real quick. I actually put that picture on a coaster, and it came out really well because the contrast was so good. So anyway, there's a little bit more about that. I'll put that in the chat. A tie. So it can't be a tie because did anybody else say it? Wait.
Well, Sam said first laser.
So
I don't know if that's quite.
You can give Sam the shirt.
You sure?
I'm fine.
Do you have a shirt though? I mean, we have bling.
I don't have a shirt. Be honest with you, I probably won't wear it. I have a very limited wardrobe.
I'll let Jeremy have my shirt as long as we can vote on the this thing every Thursday and not every other Thursday. Brian, after you checked out last week, we all took a vote, and you got outvoted. We want it every week still.
Really?
Well,
really?
I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean,
So what I'd say there then is let's challenge people. So I do like it every week. When you first said bi-weekly, I was going to question whether you meant like twice a week rather than every 2 weeks.
Right. Because it can mean both. It's a little ambiguous.
Yeah. But that being said, I think maybe like we've talked about some in the past, was maybe 1 week is like a structured learning, like maybe like a project learning type thing, and the other one's more like an open forum as it has been.
Yeah, and that's cool, and we can work back into that. But see, I mean, we're having trouble keeping up with content, putting it together. So I think if we cut back the frequency, that's not to say that we won't have enough to be able to do some of those design centric things to fill in the other slots.
Those could be
Um,
bonus weeks.
those could be bonus weeks. Maybe Grant
Or just
has
do it kind of
input on
every
that.
other one. I'm sorry, Brian. Maybe kind of
Yeah.
do it like every other one. This week was a structured one. Next week is kind of a semi free for all, but at the same time, hey, has anybody got anything pressing right now? If not, we'll just, fart around, talk, shoot a little bit of this and talk about air, assist that, and talk about Rotoboss, even though when Jason was talking about the Rotoboss updates and stuff, his phone didn't work, but when he goes into a 20-minute dialogue about his lasers talking to two things at once, we all heard him perfect. But anyways, that's a sidestep. Anyways,
No.
Did you buy a
What are you
sorry
rotary,
for the hit,
Sam?
Jason. Sorry for the
What are
hit,
you
Jason.
implying? What are you implying?
Wow.
I'm implying tech difficulties, phone
Or
problems, secrets, none given. Yeah, I'm just saying, Jason. That's all.
Brian, it is 5 o'clock. Just to let
Yeah.
you know.
It is.
We
All
started
right.
5 minutes late.
So yeah, I was late. I got to stay on. Well, I came on at 3:03, whatever, 4:03. So yeah, I'll have to stay at least another 3 minutes. So we
I'm
can
just
revisit
pinballing, breaking
this.
chops all over the place. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, I want to get out of the rut and actually, because I still think quality is better than quantity.
Absolutely.
And if we split it up at least initially, so that we can get more momentum on getting this thing a little more structured, then we can fill in those other weeks with some of those other design centric or kind of free for alls or round tables or whatever you want to call it. Because I mean, honestly, this is a pre-sales thing, and really, I guess Tech needs to be in here to answer them. But we got tickets to answer and all that stuff too. This is actually could be a sales function,
Yeah.
or at least in part.
So what I would suggest, right, is you farm out more of this to sales, to brand ambassadors, to user, to start doing some of the content, right? This does get a lot of or has gotten a lot of buzz and attention in the past and on the Facebook groups and stuff. And there is a lot of people doing a lot of stuff. What Alicia's doing in Laser Lounge, what Loco or CeeLo or whatever we're